Next up, we have the 8-7 Miami Dolphins taking on the 10-5 Tennessee Titans. This game is going to be played on CBS this Sunday with a 1 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. The Titans are a 3-point favorite going into this game. The Dolphins defeated the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football 20-3. Meanwhile, Tennessee was able to pull off the victory against the 49ers. The Dolphins entered this game as one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They're currently riding on a 7-game win streak. Now, this is the best team that the Miami Dolphins probably have faced during their 7-game win streak, because the only two teams that the Dolphins have beaten that have had a record of at least 500 or above during their 8-game win streak has been the Baltimore Ravens and the New Orleans Saints, who they recently beat this past Monday night. But New Orleans isn't above 500 anymore. But those are probably the two best teams they have faced. So they're facing a legitimate team that is going to be in the playoffs, and a team in Tennessee that their offense has kind of been in a rough place over the last month or so. Now, I understand that they're having a lot of injuries to their offensive line. You have guys in COVID protocol, so the offensive line has kind of been a revolving door there. On top of that, your wide receiver position is pretty banged up. AJ Brown recently made his return after missing a couple of games. We don't know the status of Julio Jones going into this matchup, so I'm really intrigued in seeing how Tennessee's offense performs against the Miami Dolphins defense that has been phenomenal over this 8-game stretch. When you look at Miami's defense, they throw a lot of things at you. You don't really know what's going to happen because they tend to run this zero blitz. And the way they disguise it is really fantastic, okay? Because they'll put a lot of guys on the line, and you have to identify who's dropping back, who's not dropping back, who's coming after you, who's not coming after you. They give you a lot of crazy looks at the line of scrimmage. They pretty much show blitz, and it's up to the quarterback, whoever is the signal caller or the center, to figure out if they're going to end up sending everybody or if they're going to end up dropping back. On top of that, they have really good corners. They have one of the best cornerback tandems in the NFL. And the Titans offense struggled last week against San Francisco, which I alluded to earlier. Their offense has kind of been struggling all year. The run game wasn't really able to get going. And the only thing that really kept Tennessee in the game was the fact that they were able to force a couple of key turnovers from Jimmy Garoppolo, which ended up giving the ball back to their offense and helping them put some more points on the board. So you look at Tennessee's offense, they're definitely going to get tested against a really good Miami Dolphins defense. On top of that, Tennessee's defense has also been really good, especially inside of the red zone. And you look at Miami, this is a team that is one-dimensional. They cannot run the football at all. You look at that one-off performance that Duke Johnson had not too long ago. He wasn't able to replicate that Monday night against the New Orleans Saints. So if you're a Dolphins fan, you probably shouldn't be expecting much when it comes to the run game, especially when you look at the fact that Tennessee has a very solid run defense. So it's going to be really difficult for this Dolphins offense to really move the ball, in my opinion, because you look at Tua, yes, he has been accurate, but he still hasn't really been that quarterback that you're looking for when you use a first-round pick on him. Now, I'm not saying Tua is bad or anything like that, but what I'm saying is that if Miami is going to win this game, it's going to take a Herculean effort out of Tua Tagovailoa. Now, you look at Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle has been the best wide receiver on this Dolphins team. You probably could make the argument for why Jalen Waddle should be an Offensive Rookie of the Year discussion, because he's been phenomenal. As a matter of fact, he pretty much caught nearly every single pass that was thrown to him against the New Orleans Saints on Monday night. 10 receptions for 92 receiving yards and a touchdown. Going to be really interesting to see how Tennessee's going to game plan to slow down that Tua-Jalen Waddle connection. On top of that, the Titans have a phenomenal red zone defense. They're 8th in the NFL in red zone defense. They allow teams to score touchdowns in the red zone 51.79% of the times. But the Dolphins, they have the 4th best red zone defense. They only allow teams to score touchdowns 50% of the time, which isn't really that big of a drop-off if we're talking about statistics. Only like a percentage off. So these are two phenomenal red zone defense. So it's going to be interesting to see whichever team gets in the red zone, who's going to be able to capitalize, who's going to be able to come away with 6 points, and who's going to end up having to settle for field goals. It's going to be really big in a game like this. On top of that, you look at the Miami Dolphins, they have a very good run defense. They're 7th in the NFL in rushing yards per game allowed. So you're going to look at a game that may be and probably will come down to whichever team is able to get better quarterback play. Now, Ryan Tannehill, I feel for the most part, has played pretty well. He's been asked to do a lot this year. When you look at the absence of Derrick Henry being out, you look at the fact that Julio Jones and A.J. Brown have both missed a significant amount of games due to injury. And a lot of people have been quick to write off Ryan Tannehill, saying, should Tennessee look at a different quarterback or whatnot? Still think that Ryan Tannehill is a pretty solid quarterback, definitely a top 12 quarterback in my opinion. It's just the fact that he's been without a couple of star players. Meanwhile, you look at Tua Tagovailoa right now, this Dolphins team is probably nearing as the wide receiving core is probably as healthy as it's going to be. Now, you are going to have Devontae Parker on the outside. I'm interested in seeing if they're going to try to get him a little bit more involved in this game. On top of that, you have a very good collection of tight ends. You got Gesicki. And for Tennessee, you look at the matchup up front. You look at Tennessee's defensive line versus the offensive line of Miami, and you're also going to look at the offensive line of Tennessee versus the defensive line of Miami. Like, that's going to be really it's going to be really interesting because both of these two teams' offensive line has kind of been a little bit banged up. Tennessee already has been a revolving door there. The Miami Dolphins offensive line isn't really down bad to the point like Tennessee is, but their offensive line has also had their inconsistencies at times. So which quarterback is going to be able to make the big throws when it matters the most is what this game is going to come down to. So the team that I'm going to take to win this game, I am going to roll with the Tennessee Titans. I was really close to picking the Miami Dolphins, but I just look at Miami, and I don't feel like Tua will be good enough to carry the Dolphins offense to a win against Tennessee, because Tennessee, we've known what Tennessee has done this year. Tennessee has won a bunch of big games. Meanwhile, you look at the Dolphins, yes, they are on a 8-game win streak, but they haven't really faced a lot of great competition during that span. They beat Baltimore earlier, and they beat New Orleans, but after that, their level of competition hasn't really been all that tough. So they're facing a team that already is pretty much a lock-in for the playoffs, and this is going to be one of their first true tests to keep their playoff hopes alive. And I don't really feel like Miami's going to be able to get the job. I feel like Tennessee's defense is going to be able to hold Miami down enough to the point that it should give Tennessee's offense a little bit more leeway. I know it's going to take a while. I'm not expecting this to be a high-scoring game. As a matter of fact, I expect this to be a low-scoring affair. So whichever team is able to hit that 20-point threshold first is probably going to be the team who ends up winning this game. I'm probably going to roll with Tennessee because I feel like Tennessee's defense is going to be able to get enough key stops. They may be able to force a turnover or two to get the ball back to their offense and help their offense out. That's why I have to roll with Tennessee. I know the Dolphins' defense is really good. The Dolphins defense matches up very well against the Tennessee Titans, but overall this game is going to come down to whichever team is able to get the better quarterback play, and I think that Ryan Tannehill is most likely going to end up outplaying Tua Tagovailoa when this game comes down to the critical moments down the stretch in the fourth quarter. So give me the Tennessee Titans. 20-10 is my final score prediction for this game.